The Bear season 2. We're continuing our journey with The Bear, just ready for season 3 now. Ah man, this is such a great show. I mean it when I said it in the review for season 1. This is a love letter to dysfunctional, hurting families and to Chicago. But it's become more and more clear to me that this is such a great exposure to mental health awareness. It's a beautiful show to me. I think in my own way I could relate to that. But what the writers and creators of the show do, I commend it. I have to. In this season, we follow Carmen Berzado, who's played by Jeremy Allen White, and the rest of the chefs get ready for the new opening of the restaurant, The Bear. There's so much preparation that has to go on financially, cooking wise, creating the menu, and emotionally. We see how characters are challenged, how they either face the music or they drown in the noise. We are provided so much insight into the business of running a restaurant, of creating a new one. And as all of this happens, leading to the ultimate final episode where we get our first opening day of The Bear in the Friends and Family. We get a beautiful one-shot episode. The question on everyone's mind is, can Carmi balance these two worlds where he's in a relationship and he's running a restaurant? Can he be a perfectionist? Can he still pursue excellence? Can he still pay attention to this minute detail that he's so well known for and that makes such a big part of his character? Can he still do that while being in love? This season was amazing, excellent, so much to praise, so much to commend. The Bear carries its consistency when it comes to performance, writing, and editing. B-rolls are there of a beautiful city of Chicago, and its writing is amazing. I would say stronger than in season 1, and it showcases in nuanced character, soul character episodes, like in episode 4 called Honeydew, episode 7 called Forks. Honeydew focuses on Marcus's character development, where Marcus gets a much needed solo episode, just focusing on Marcus's character, being challenged, wanting to learn his interactions with the chef there in Copenhagen. And of course, we have our amazing cameo of Will Poulter. He plays Luca, a seasoned pastry chef who's there to mentor Marcus. What I think is beautiful about this episode is it feels calm. The Bear doesn't have to be chaotic to be good, and this episode proves it. Is it weird to say that it felt like a Studio Ghibli moment there? I don't know why. It reminded me of that, the peacefulness of it in some Studio Ghibli movies. Anyways, one of my favorite scenes was when Luca was explaining that one of the ways that he got better was by just chasing the next chef. I thought it was very smart dialogue, and it just makes a cameo not feel wasted at all. Overall, one of my favorite episodes of the season. Forks is the 7th episode of season 2. This has to be one of my favorite episodes in television history. Wow. What they did with one character is amazing. In itself, it can be a short film. You have a beginning, middle, and end, and this beautiful character arc of Richie, of this character who at times you hate. But in this episode, you just see so much growth, so much challenge, and him just facing it and growing, being willing to grow with mentorship, listening. It's so beautiful. It's not only that it's beautiful for Richie, I think it's just so beautiful for life. And there's beautiful moments where he's taught about serving others, why it's so important, why hospitality is used in both a hospital and a restaurant, and purpose. That's the beautiful thing about the episode. Richie finds his purpose. He accepts it. I think the cameo from Olivia Colman, who plays Chef Terry, which if you listen throughout the episode is actually the main chef. And I love that she herself was the one peeling the mushrooms, as if you're never too big for something like this. Very humbling, man. It's just such a nice message. Very universal. How can you not watch this and get up from whatever couch you're on after the episode and just get to being productive? Or just have maybe a different perspective on life. Such a great episode. Carmi continues his pursuit of perfection, but in this season you really get this addition of a character, Claire, a former lover of his. At the end of episode 2, she's introduced, and throughout the season, specifically in episode 5, titled Pop, you really see how his relationship to her begins to grow and the pot starts to stir. And it's not until the later episodes, specifically 8 and 9, that really puts into conflict where his attention is. In episodes like Beef and Bologna's, the show really takes you how businesses like these are built, how easily they can break down, and how much preparation goes into this stuff. The season starts us off with the first episode titled Beef. This is obviously a callback to what the old restaurant used to be called. I think one of the best scenes in this episode was when Richie speaks to Carmi. When he brings up the question about purpose, I just love how all of that is answered. Not just the restaurant aspect, but Richie as a character is answered later on in the season. I loved the Tina and Sid moment. I thought it was really nice acting from Liza Colon-Zayas. It was a very human response to being asked to be sous chef, and it really warms your heart. Another great scene I thought was when Sid, Natalie, and Carmi pitched to Cicero. I think it's not only the dialogue, but what's happening in the background, the ambience. And this scene just continues to show why Cicero was a great addition to the Bear cast. Episode 8 is titled Bolognese, and so everyone's come back at this point. We are ironing out any preparations, anything last minute, anything that has to get done. And one of those things is a fire suppression test. In this episode, we also have nice character moments. Richie just being a boss with that waiter interview. Oh, Richie did so good. And of course, Richie apologizing to Natalie. Great character growth that is being portrayed in The Bear. In the middle of this episode, we do get a moment where Carmi speaks about how Claire has helped them realize something and sort of change his own perspective of this thing. And particularly the cannolis he was speaking of about changing something bad to something good. And I wish this would have been shown instead of told, because then we get a good first-hand perspective of how Claire is very beneficial to Carmi's life instead of being told that she is. Does that make sense? Of course, when it comes to Sydney's character, Ayo just acts to perfection with her. It's such a unique character. And I think her relationship to her father, those little conversations she has with him, are her greatest doubts, but at the same time, her greatest support. Like her conversation with him in episode 2, Pasta, and in episode 9, Omelette. She explains that this has to work, because if it doesn't, in a sense, she doesn't have anything else in her soul to try again. She already failed once. So knowing Sydney's history, The Bear has to work. And this is why The Bear as a show is so great, because it knows character dynamics. Sydney's in here 100%, and Carmi isn't. In this season, you also get a very strong mid-season flashback. Okay, so by this point, we are halfway. We have gotten a good selection of episodes, most notably being Honeydew, which is episode 4. And then the show just picks up. It's like it told itself, like, yeah, let's be a masterpiece now. Episode 6 is titled Fishes. I This is Christmas at the Berzados. I don't know if I would want to be there, man. Let's start out with the performances because, wow, outstanding. One of the best, notably Jamie Lee Curtis, who plays Donna. Oh my god. I think she might win an Emmy for this performance. Her character gave so much insight into our protagonist. And her performance is something I think I'll always remember. She did amazing. And of course, you have this amazing cast ensemble. People like Bob Odenkirk, Sarah Paulson, John Mulaney, John Bernthal. Everyone showed up. And these are not just cameos, they are characters. And obviously, our lead stars, Carmi Berzado, who's played by Jeremy Allen White, and Natalie. And you see the crazy, chaotic kitchen he came from, and why he's so addicted to this feeling, and why he's so used to it. The chaos doesn't faze him because he grew up with it. You get a lot of insight into his background, a lot of insight into the family's background, nuances that play a big role forward. I thought this flashback was greatly written, but the performances carry, man. Oh my. This show is so captivating. Again, you cannot stop looking at the screen when these actors come up. John Bernthal played Mikey so well, man. I don't think I'm gonna be able to say that enough, but he did. One of my favorite scenes was when him and Carmi were in the pantry. I think I can relate a lot to it because I have a brother and I love him with all my heart. And so just to see this great moment, knowing how this all ends for Mikey, is very heartbreaking. The writers do an amazing job. And then as Carmi leaves, we just stay there with John Bernthal as Mikey. You just see that so much is being suppressed, it pours out now and then. He can't hold it all back. It hurts to see that. But it's amazing acting. And overall, the whole show is very humanitarian in its exposure to mental health awareness. But I think this episode is a great example of that. And the whole episode, Fishes, is one of the most tense feelings I have felt. So stressed watching something. I don't think I've ever felt more scared from someone asking, "Do we have a problem?" than when Donna did to Carmi. I was like, no, I don't think we do. And then, of course, we have the dinner scene in the end where everything goes to crap. Saul Goodman versus Mikey. That was crazy and so tragic. Just all of these degrading comments being shouted and thrown into Mikey's face. And what the editing and the cinematography do so good is just focusing in on reactions, on how you receive something. So when Mikey is receiving these comments, that's what he's doing. He's receiving it. He's not, in a sense, there's moments in film and in television where you're told an insult and you can tell it doesn't even faze him. But for this person who eventually commits suicide, you could tell that these comments are getting to him. And it's very hurtful and it's very tragic. Spectacular episode, so well directed. Such amazing performances and great character moments. Cicero's moment with Richie, that was nice too. And of course, we have episode 10 titled The Bear. We open with a one shot lasting for about 30 to 40 minutes where we cross from the front of the house to the back in the kitchen to the front of the house, back in the kitchen. And as this happens, as we transition, oh, you just could hear the difference in ambiance and the difference in the soundtrack. The tenseness in the kitchen is just completely opposite. Calmness and peacefulness in the front of the house, which I think is a credit to how Richie's character has grown. And then the unthinkable happens, which is Carmi gets locked in the walk-in. And of course, this is very metaphorical for his character. But in that moment, I'm thinking, did we just lose our ace? No, we didn't. Richie was the ace. That was a really nice 5 minutes where Richie pulls everyone to safety. He gives confidence to Fack and to the whole restaurant. And of course, you just see how Richie has grown in reliability. In this episode, you get your answer to whether or not Carmen can balance both worlds out. And when all the orders are sent out, Carmi says this thing and we get a call back to episode 3. And in this dialogue, when he's in the walk-in, we just see how similar he is to Donna, how self-destructive he is. He does not allow himself to be happy. Clear listening was a nice twist. And then we have one of my favorite shots of the season where Carmi's inside the fridge, Richie's outside, and just a juxtaposition of both of their positions and their mindsets. Richie is at the highest he's been. He's outside of this box. He's such a huge asset at this point in his career, and Carmi is at his worst mentally, and he's the one that's locked inside the walk-in. The juxtaposition between that and the lighting, and then the following dialogue was heartbreaking. I mean, everything Carmi said was to hurt. And Richie, he tries to not do that. He tries to not bark back, but instead talk and speak to him. I think one of the most heartbreaking moments in the season was when Carmi's yelling insults at him and Richie's yelling, "I love you." I think that was just amazing writing and just elevates Richie to such a great character status. All in all, this is a great season. Season 3 hopefully lives up to what season 2 and season 1 has done. Because wow, great stuff. I'm gonna have to give this season an A+. Guys, this season is rated TVBMA. It is so mainly because of profanity. There's curse words, very strong language throughout all the episodes, and from most of the characters, There is a sex scene in the beginning of episode 9, if I remember correctly, and a brief mention of drugs in episode 10. And my personal disclaimer, because the bear does such a good job at portraying how the characters feel, which one of their major emotions is stress. The editing is a big part to that. And, I'm commending the editing. But because of this, I think it's very emotionally taxing at times. So just a heads up. Please just try to be mentally healthy when watching this, especially episode 6, I would say. Anyways, thank you guys so much for sticking around. Let me know what you thought about the bear. Let me know what you thought about this review. Catch you guys soon. Bye bye.